Hi everyone, if you are listening to this video, you have reached phase 2 of the Farm to Table project. Phase 2 is all about designing and building. And in this quick instructional video, I just wanted to give a quick phase overview of what you should expect while initiating phase 2 and just some ideas on how to go about grouping your teams up or whether you choose to decide to work as an entire class. So in this phase, students are really working on that design aspect of the garden. They're going to be using tools like Minecraft or Gardena, depending on your budget and what you're most comfortable with. They're going to, in this phase, really just bring those designs to life, and by the end of this phase, before they enter phase 3, they're going to begin to plant their crop choices and have those all set to go. So by the time they get into phase 3, they're going to be collecting those measurements and data. This is phase 2 of the 4 phases that I've created for this project. And on my website, you'll be able to find any information related to phase 2 under the phase 2 subpage. So just to kind of give you an idea of, what guiding questions and thoughts you really want to be kind of challenging those students with is really, what kind of design elements might be important to consider when building a garden. Whether it's in Minecraft or, in reality, what are some things that we might want to have be a part of our garden, whether it's a certain type of fencing, do we want any, raised garden beds? That's all dependent on student design and, really what you're looking for as an educator and what works in your space. But again, it is dependent on you. The second kind of guiding question or thought I had was, what tools do we really need to have on standby in order to make this phase successful? Will you have to budget or find watering cans, different hoses, shovels, and different, types of gardening gloves, seeds, posts, fencing, all sorts of things that, you and your students may want to think about when creating a garden in your designated area. And finally, and obviously this doesn't need to necessarily be the last guiding question or thought, but these are just 3 that really stood out to me, is, what type of environment do our plants need to be successful in growth? It's commonly known that not all plants require the same amount of sunlight or the same amount of water. So this kind of ties that phase 1 and 2 together before we move on to phase 3, in the sense that, what type of environment are we growing in? What type of environment can we give them? And how much water and, shade/sun will it take to make these plants grow successfully? Again, by the end of this phase, students are going to have designed, they're going to have constructed the school garden, it's going to be ready to go. So by the time we get to phase 3, we can really deep dive into the actual growth, the actual data and measurement piece. Again, just like the other parts of this phase and this project as a whole, we're really kind of following that project-based learning approach. This really can take a lot of those elements from Vygotsky, and students are really using just those resources, and we're really working towards becoming a more knowledgeable other. That goal is to really be able to teach others, whether it's other community members, younger students, about what they're doing and how they're doing it. So they're going to be able to make decisions throughout this process. They're going to be able to provide reasoning, and they're going to be able to give each other feedback, especially in that reflection page piece that is at the end of each phase. So much like phase 1, there will be a reflection piece again on Flipgrid in phase 2. So you can check out this phase 2 overview. This is located within a Google Docs, but can again be found under the phase 2 subpage. If you scroll to the bottom of my Google site, you'll be able to find it as a button, and it is titled Phase 2 Overview. I do have some links here, and I will post the links to the instructional videos. This instructional video that you're listening to right now really goes into detail about the phases itself, so in this case phase 2, and the overall garden design. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, it is totally up to you on what tool you'd like to use. If you prefer to not use tech, you don't necessarily need to use Minecraft Education Edition or Gardena, which is a free kind of garden development site. But that, again, totally up to you on what you'd like to use, what your budget is looking like. I will talk more about those tech tools in the following instructional video 2.2. Again, that's where I'm going to talk about Minecraft, Gardena, the overall garden setup and some things you may want to consider, as well as funding, looking at things like grants and the Flipgrid reflection. So that is kind of a general overview of phase 2. Similar to phase 1, we're really looking as an educator or somebody who's initiating this, we're really just looking for observation and questioning at this point, and we really want them to complete that meaningful reflection assessment, so to speak, using Flipgrid. But really, this is just another phase in building towards that final product. So if you do have any questions about phase 2 in general, please feel free to reach out or check out my Google Sites page. Again, you can look at the subpage phase 2, where all of the materials, all of the instructional videos, as well as this phase 2 overview document will be located.